Manx Radio's Countryside is brought to you by NFU Mutual.
Hello and welcome to the last in this series of Countryside here on Manx Radio. I'm Simon Clark.
And I'm Kirree. I caught up with the NFU President Ean Parsons to talk about what they're up to there and also how the farming is going in general.
Great news that Ballock Cricket Farm, courtesy of Neil Masson and his wife Vicki, have won a prestigious Holstein UK Master Breeder Award for 2025. Well, more from Vicki Sloane-Masson later in the programme about that fantastic achievement that they've managed to get in all the farms, and the only one outside the UK to win it. So great news on that front. It's been a dry spell, but a little bit of grace we've had over the last few days, which might have tickled a bit.
It might have helped a little bit.
Yeah.
Bit of rainfall is always very grateful to be mixed in. But what a phenomenal spring we're having, Simon. You know, the cows are underway with the calving now. Many of the sheep farmers are done with their lambing. It's just been a breath of fresh air. And it's great hearing from Ean Parsons to see how 2 years could be so very different.
Yeah, we'll be hearing from Ian in just a moment. But it's just what it's given you time with the clocks changing and everything, and it's just been a phenomenal few weeks. And when I've been looking up north, when I've been looking at all the farmers, all sorts of hours trying to get all the cereal crops and all in and working the land, manure out and everything like that, and to see it just laid, worked, rolled. And then the next thing, it's up. Yeah.
It's sprouted.
Yeah.
It is. The brewer is up around the island and the fields are gradually turning green again. But it's that fresh electric green, isn't it? The whole new vibrancy of a new year ahead of us. It's just been so very welcomed. And for people's mental health as well, I think the farmers have taken such a battering over the last few years. And people do say, oh, we'll pay for it. But maybe we have already paid for it. You know, maybe we've had a number of rough times and this could be just... It's going to be a good one for a change.
Yeah, well, lots of changes around the world with what's happening with the economy and taxes. And you spoke to one of the people who I suppose has to keep a close eye on that, and that's from the National Farmers Union. Yeah,
Ian is well versed with what's going on around the world, and as the president of the Manx National Farmers Union, he has to be up to speed with all of it. But that said, he's very busy at the moment. The cows have just started calving. I popped up to Bolgene to see how things are and see how the NFU is doing. Now, this makes a bit of a difference. This time last year, well, my God, what a year that was. Beautiful blue skies, bright sunshine, and the cows and calves are out.
Yeah, it's brilliant. It's quite unbelievable, the contrast to this time last year. We were slopping around in mud, running out of feed. It was a really challenging time last year.
And like you say, running out of feed at this time of year when the weather is just absolute doom, it must have been really, really difficult for the farmers.
Yeah, it was really difficult, and it was difficult for all sectors. It didn't matter which part of the industry you were in, and I normally think of myself as quite a strong, resilient kind of person, but this time last year I'd honestly had enough. Yeah. And if it hadn't been for such a good team around us, with Finn working with us, family members, Robbie North, to keep us all going, I'm not sure I'd still be doing the job, to be honest.
No, this is it. And like a day like today, though, it's a different feeling.
Oh, it's wonderful. Really, normally really enjoy this time of year, and we're back enjoying it again. We're not quite lambing yet. We pushed that back a bit off the weather last year. But we're on calving now. Cows are just nicely kicking in. Heifers have been calving for about 2 weeks now. And yeah, it's lovely. Just get them tagged, get them turned out in the sunshine. There's not a lot of grass around, but we've got loads of silage, so that's fine. The grass will come.
And it's quite funny seeing a silage pit only half empty. But it was a great back end as well, though, Ian.
Absolutely. We probably saved 200 tonne of feed towards the end of 2024 to where we were at the end of 2023, just through it being a good autumn. So that has a massive effect because that's there in reserve for this springtime. So yeah, it's really good.
And after a year like that, with all of the rain through sort of the springtime, the planting, the harvest, was the quality there, or are we still seeing the effects of it?
So even here on this farm, we're still seeing massive knock-on effects from last springtime. Both with finishing cattle, they came in probably about 80 kilos lighter than they had in previous years. So there's still the last of them waiting to go out the sheds now. We're nearly there. But it's noticeable with calving. With our heifers, we calve everything at 2-year-old. We normally I would say in the first cycle of 21 days would aim to have 90 to 95% of the heifers calved in that first cycle, whereas we're not quite at the end of the first cycle this year, but I think we'll be doing well to get 70% calved in the first cycle.
Oh, wow.
And same with the cows, we are nicely calving now, but we would be expecting sort of 7 or 8 cows every day to be calving, whereas we're at the moment we're just usually 4 or 5. So I think it was just the knock-on effect of the bad weather last spring. The cows probably leaner going out last year, not the same amount of grass around, not the same feed in the grass that was there. Thus, they were slower coming back into cycling.
It's hard to believe, but then you've got to make up that ground somewhere else, haven't you, really, to get the growth rates back in them. Additives, proteins, diets all have to be changed, I suppose.
Yes, we really noticed that when we were finishing cattle and when we first got them onto feed in the autumn. We weren't seeing anything like the weight gains that we normally see in the cattle. So we jumped in and got the feed analysed. In hindsight, we should have had it analysed beforehand, but we didn't. And, feed values were way down, so we had to supplement that feed more at quite a significant cost, but we got weight gains up and running again, and it was nice to see that the beef price has risen nicely, so it's been worth supplementing that feed.
No, definitely. And we're talking about costs, Ian. I remember being here a couple of years ago, and it was off the back of the Ukraine situation where fertilisers had gone through the roof. Like, it was unbelievable, the price hike in materials. Has it come back since then? Has it steadied up?
Yes, it did come back. It's risen a little bit this year, but nothing like what we saw back at the Ukraine crisis. But that year, certainly I know I can only speak from my own business, that took an awful lot of cash out of the business. I think we spent an extra £44,000 on fertiliser that year.
Yeah, wow.
And we've never been able to quite recoup that because certainly the lamb and beef price has been slow to rise, but we're seeing it rising now. So fingers crossed, costs won't rocket again, and we might be able to try and get some of that money back into the business.
Isn't it hard to believe a business has to have that stability, it has to have the resilience to come through situations like this? The global situations at the moment, USA, the tariffs, we've got a lot of things that can affect agriculture in a very short space of time, but you've got to be prepared.
Absolutely, and I suppose you've got to look on that 3-year cycle of a business as well, haven't you? And, the tariffs, we think that won't affect us, but certainly as far as the dairy sector is concerned on the Isle of Man, that will have an impact as there's, they've built up a really good market for cheese in America.
And as much as we're a small place, it still comes back to the island, these effects that happen in the world.
Absolutely. Agriculture now is a commodity, worldwide commodity. And what happens with the dairy industry in New Zealand can affect the milk price in the Isle of Man. It seems ridiculous, but unfortunately it is the case.
It really is. And obviously this time of year, Ian, you'll be doing your livestock farming, but there's lots of agri-environmental schemes that are underway now. People or farmers are getting stuck into getting involved with it. Did you embrace any of them up here?
Yeah, we got quite involved in doing them. There's been quite a significant change this last 12 months with the introduction of the soil health scheme and carbon auditing. We did both. It was quite a change of mindset, though I have to say I probably set out doing them because I felt we had to do them as a business because we needed the funding from them. But I have to say found them really quite interesting and actually quite enjoyed doing them in the end and really quite liked the results we got from them and found that interesting.
And with that data, can you now progress and actually make money out of it?
Well, that's what we try to do each year, but I think there's a real correlation between specifically the carbon auditing about viability in the business as well, because where we're sort of looking to reduce carbon footprint also, you'll see that might help profitability in the business too. So hopefully it'll give a bit of business resilience.
Yeah, and I know it's difficult to change. Like, farmers are probably one of the the bunch of people that least like change, but there is so much happening at the moment.
Yeah, unfortunately, I suppose we had 2 quite significant scheme changes in the 1 year, and that has, it's taken a lot of learning for people. I suppose, through the NFU, I've been quite involved in them, and even I found them difficult, but I've been involved in them right from the sort of outset. So it has created quite a lot to change, though I would say the department have been quite good in holding workshops and trying to sort of help the industry understand them, but we certainly wouldn't want to see much more change this next year or so until we sort of stabilise on these schemes. Yeah,
absolutely. And with your NFU hat on, president of the groups, how's the year been going so far?
Yeah, there's always challenges out there. As I say, I might be president, but I'm very fortunate that it's a fantastic team in there at the union. Murray there as vice president, and Sarah and Carolyn, and we've got a really strong group of commodity chairmen or chair people. I think at the moment we've got 4 of the chairs are under 35, 36 years of age, so it's really good to see young members of the industry getting involved, as it's their futures that we're trying to sort of plan going forward.
And that said, Ian, across the water, you're seeing in the UK with the inheritance tax situation, you're talking about young people. Will it have an impact on our young people?
Well, I suppose we're fortunate over here that we don't have inheritance tax at all. So it's not, not just agriculture. Every other business doesn't have inheritance tax. And, certainly from an agricultural point of view, I hope it stays that way, because that's going to have a massive impact on the industry in the UK. I think long term, businesses will be able to plan for it. But it's just those businesses that are caught up in it in the next sort of 5 to 7 years. It really could see the end of those businesses.
And it is quite hard to watch, that small family businesses, a lot of those locally as well. Obviously, losing them out of the countryside, it won't look the same again.
No, it's for all there's a lot of money tied up in a farm, in assets. It's almost, you never draw those assets that are down, though, do you? You sort of, especially when it's a family business and there's people following on, it's just transferred over. So to draw that sort of money out in inheritance tax really could finish those businesses.
Yeah, it really could. And talking about the young people, here I see Ian, the NFU are getting back into the schools again with the Countryside Code being rolled out, and obviously UCM are doing a great lot of work up there with the agricultural students.
Yeah, I think there'll hardly be a week go by where Sarah, Carolyn and Paula Kirree aren't in at schools. It's fantastic the number of visits they've done. I honestly don't know how they find the time to do it. And it's great seeing all the children come around the stand at the show time, and they're all talking about the story and talking about when they've all been in the schools visiting them. And yeah, UCM are doing a really good job. We had the students up here 2 weeks ago. They were doing cattle housing and cattle wintering as part of their syllabus, and they were up here looking at the sheds. Paddy had them up, and yeah, they were a really enthusiastic bunch. It was really good to see.
I think they're doing a great job, and like you say, Paddy is such an enthusiastic person, and obviously a person from the countryside as well, but they're looking for more students to get involved with the courses, so yeah, get themselves enrolled. Also, Ian, out in Europe, we're seeing the dreadful titles of the foot and mouth. How do you think we're set for if it was to come into the UK?
I suppose the only plus point at the moment is, well, first of all, we've got to hope it stays well away from the UK. I'm not sure this current government in the UK will be quite as helpful towards the industry as previous governments had been when there's been disease outbreaks. But I suppose a fortunate thing for the Isle of Man just at the moment, whilst it's created difficulty within the industry, we've actually had a ban on imports due to blue tongue. So there hasn't been any animals come into the Isle of Man, probably for nearly 2 years now, I would think.
Yeah, it's a long time.
They can come in from Ireland, but they can't come in from England. So I think first case is, let's just hope they get it under control in Europe and it doesn't get as far as the UK. Obviously, it will create a little bit of a worry for the industry with TT coming up and lots of people travelling from that area of the world. But both the UK and the Isle of Man have been very proactive, and there's been bans on sort of meat products, wool products and different things from those areas. So I think fingers crossed that they just get it under control.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other side, we've just had a week where Yellow Wellies does a campaign about supporting mental health within the farming communities. And I know the NFU have recently put together some mental health groups. Now they're up and running?
Yeah, absolutely. Greener Grass is up and going. A really good team in there. And huge thanks to them, especially to Lauren Dean for doing the social media side of it. There's a real good group, and Sarah and Carolyn have been very proactive in this and something that they've really wanted to do. I must also thank the department because they've been really supportive and helped fund this as well. So
can anybody reach out to the group?
Absolutely, it's out there. It's out there to help signpost people. They're not counsellors. They're not there to sort of, I don't know how to describe it. They're there really to facilitate directing people, just there to try and help, there to listen and to direct people to the right places where they can get help if needed, because, you know, there is a lot of challenges out there in the industry.
As much as we have blue skies and you know, sunny days, there's still a lot more to people, you know, that goes under the radar in agriculture.
Oh, absolutely. And hopefully this will sort of set us off in a better stead this year. As I say, last year with the way the weather was, there was, you know, it really did have an impact on a lot of people, especially those, you know, it's a very isolating industry for lots. So, you know, I'm fortunate we have a sort of good family team around us and staff around us, so we're never really working on our own, but there's an awful lot of the industry are working on their own, and when you are on your own and can't talk about problems, they do escalate, don't they?
Absolutely,
so
yeah.
that's the whole sort of point of what the union is trying to do, just to be there for people if they need to.
And how can they get in touch, Ian, I think most importantly?
The numbers are signposted on social media of who to contact, how to contact, and if anybody is not on social media, just contact the union office or contact any of us and we can direct you in the right direction.
And I'm assuming it's all private and confidential?
Absolutely, 100%.
There we go. That was Ean Parsons, farming there at Bolgene in Laxey, and also the NFU president.
Yeah, and good optimism there. I mean, he seems to be pretty pleased with the prices at the moment. Farmers sort of keeping them reasonably happy, I think, is it?
Yeah, ever the optimist, Ian, but it's great to see the return on some of the livestock production actually coming to the fore. Great to see that new greener grass mental health group getting up and started as well here on the island.
Yeah, and, you know, I suppose what's the National Farmers Union, they're not just keeping an eye on cereals and livestock and things like that. Always the welfare of the farmers tries to get in there.
We are very lucky, you know, we're only a phone call away locally. Our neighbours are only around the corner, and it's not so isolated as some of those remote places in the top of Yorkshire or top of Scotland. We are quite a close-knit community here, and it's great to see the work that they're doing into the classrooms also with the younger children to educate them about the countryside with the countryside code. It's just a great place to live on the island to get that connection into the community.
Yeah, don't park in front of farmers' gates. There's one or two reappeared on some of the social media channels, hasn't there?
Oh, there has. It's always hard to get the balance. There's so many people out enjoying the countryside here on the Isle of Man at the minute. And I know down our way, Port Greenock is full of cars. But they are quite courteous and do their bit as well.
You're listening to Countryside here on Manx Radio with Kirree Kermode and myself, Simon Clark. Well, we heard from one of the sort of newcomers into the dairy world here on the Isle of Man on last week's programme. But Neil Masson and his wife Vicki farm at Cricket Farm up Ronnig there. And they've been one of the winners of this year's 2025 Holstein UK Master Breeder Awards, recognising herds that excel in classification, production, longevity. And it was celebrated 10 farms across the British Isles, and their farm was the only farm outside the UK to win one of those prestigious prizes. I went along to Cricket Farm to find out more from Vicki. Well, first of all, Vicki, many congratulations to Neil and yourself. This is a wonderful achievement for a dairy farmer here on a small place like the Isle of Man.
Yeah, really surprised. It's something that we would be aiming to achieve. Didn't think we'd quite get it so soon. With our breeding, we've been breeding for 14 years under the Carree prefix. And yeah, so I was really quite surprised when we got it. It's just one of them things that you have in your back of your mind but don't know whether you're actually going to get there in the end, but we have.
Yeah, is it one of them awards that you've looked at over the years and kept an eye on it? Because, I mean, you're the only one outside the UK to win this award.
Yeah, I did look at it 2 or 3 years ago, and unfortunately the way the island is with not being able to sell your surplus heifers here on island, I thought we wouldn't be able to gather enough points. You need to have 40 animals within your herd that qualify within that year. They do the points.
How does the point system work?
Okay, so it's like the overall of an animal. So you'll have an individual animal and she's done a full lactation of 305 days. She'll be classified, which is a points system where a UK classifier will visit the farm twice a year to classify animals that we put forward. And it's a bit like linear stock judging, where they'll take all of the functional traits of a cow and they'll point it, and then they'll have an overall score for that animal. And that helps us make breeding decisions. Obviously, if you have a batch of heifers, you have them classified, they'll give you a printout and it'll pinpoint any weak areas within the breeding. So if, say for instance, we're quite low in heel depth, which is really important to have them high out of the slurry, being able to walk out to pasture, we'll be able to focus on the next time round breeding to improve that. So that's one element of the Master Breeders Award. The other one is on production. So they would need to achieve butterfat and protein weighted in kilos over that lactation, and it would start at 700 kilos would be 1 point, and then up like 800 kilos 2 points.
It's monitored quite closely then, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It's down to a fine line. And obviously with those 40 qualifying animals, they need to average 12 points over their lactation. So, yeah, going back to the surplus heifers, we have a really low replacement rate within the herd, which is really good because obviously we're breeding them functionally correct, so they're lasting a lot longer, the longevity is there. We have a lot of older cows in their 8th, 9th, 10th lactation with no health problems whatsoever, and they're just here. So our replacement rate is really low. So the rest of the herd need to be put in calf to beef. So that kind of stops us getting more points, if you understand what I mean. So we rear beef calves up to a fortnight old. Some of them we take to weaning and they go off to calf rearers on the Isle of Man. But we really focus on our 18 replacement heifers on the farm when we take them right through to replacements then.
Wow. It's a complex event then, isn't it? And it's not as if somebody's come and look for 10 minutes and go, oh yeah, you've won an award. It really makes it more special.
Yeah, it's very data driven. And when we started breeding Holsteins, I always had in my mind that we needed to breed cows that are fit for purpose. Slightly different to maybe what you would want to breed in the UK, where they have lots of options of leaving cows in 24/7. They have access to likes of feed, which should be in the food chain, where they can use to feed cattle, whereas we don't have that option over here. We have to import all of the feed. So we try and get as much from homegrown cereal, homegrown silage, whole crop as we can. So being more efficient with feed is really important for us. So we don't actually breed for litres, so we would never pick a bull on like crazy amount of litres like he would transmit to his daughters. We just focus on a real strong cow who's very correct to give her the longevity, and then we just manage her really correctly and everything else falls into place. And that's what we started out to do. But it was really interesting because we were getting a lot of these special awards come through where the butterfat and protein on that lactation has been really high. Like we've had some touching 1,000 kilos of butterfat and protein within their lactation. And I was just thinking in my mind that we can't be far away from this if we are getting these through every month. And then it was interesting when we did our carbon calculator. So the government now want us to record carbon on farm. And it's all ran on efficiency. And our figure came out really low, a lot lower than the average UK. And I thought, we're actually doing something here. It's all kind of falling into place. And the next minute we've won this.
Well, that's just brilliant, isn't it? And the thing that must give you so much satisfaction is the home breeding of them. That you pride yourselves on that, don't you?
We do, and it's something I didn't mention, that the points only go to homebred animals.
Oh, right, okay.
So if we import an animal, we don't get them points. Them points go to wherever she was bred. So
and it's
yeah.
purebred Holsteins as well.
It is
Yeah.
purebred Holsteins, yeah. Yeah.
But I noticed on the farm here now, looking, you've got one that's ready to carve over there now, and the collars on them. Such an important thing now. What's it? Just monitor, feed the collars on them, or?
Yeah. So another important point, it's more data, which is kind of new probably in the last 10 years, where we kind of record a lot more data than what we used to do. But these collars have just been an absolute game changer. Regarding the health of the animal, getting a backing calf, it's just made everybody's life on the farm a lot easier. Everybody has access to that data on their phone. So if there is a cow that's, say, stuck somewhere, or she's been lying down longer than she normally would, maybe you would check her out when she came into the parlour. You'd maybe take a temperature or check.
So it's not just for food. This monitors a lot more stuff.
No, it monitors their activity, rumination as well. So obviously when they're eating as well. Yeah.
Wow, technology's moved on,
yeah.
but it's great that you're able to use it to your advantage as well. Now, you haven't got the award yet. When does that happen?
So we need to head to UK Dairy Day, which is quite a big show all focused on dairy in September at Telford International Centre, whereas we'll be presented with it there.
Well, many congratulations to yourselves here. Obviously, you can win shows here on the Isle of Man, the agricultural shows, but to be up against the best in the whole of the UK, and to win an award there must feel great.
It does, and we're probably at a slight disadvantage being on the island and not being able to get cattle out to shows in the UK. So we haven't been able to prove ourselves that way. So this is something that we could achieve on the island. Yeah, so it's nice.
What's the next award? The World Championships?
Oh, yeah, I don't think there is one.
Vicki Sloane-Masson from Ballard Cricket Farm there, farming out with her family, and her husband Neil Masson doing a fantastic job coming away with that prestigious award from the Holstein UK Master Breeders 2025, recognised, and of course the only non-UK farm in that award ceremony, and just the pride that Vicki and Neil have, and the family, of their own homegrown Holsteins is just fantastic.
It's phenomenal. They've been chipping away at their homegrown herd there up at Ballard Cricket for a number of years now, and to see the successes coming back, not only from the show ring but with those UK awards, just great recognition for what they do as a family.
It certainly is, and just the great technology that she was telling us about with the collars, that they can be out shopping somewhere, and a little bleep will come on their phone to say, oh, one of the cows isn't eaten, or it's not moved for a while.
Oh, the attention to detail is just amazing now, the new technologies. And for us to embrace it here on such a small island, it's just great. And it obviously helps with the work-life balance as well. I know Vicki lives and breathes with those cows. There's no two ways about it. And that attention to detail has come back with that success.
Yeah, well done to all of them involved in that. But it's... like we said at the start of the programme, it's a busy time for farmers. Lots of farmers are up to all sorts of things at this time of year. They are. It is really great to see the Easter holidays and children able to get out and about on the farms. And I know that there's 3 farms in particular: Bertie's Farm up north, Knockalo Beg Farm out there and near Patrick, and Red Mai have opened up their gates to welcome visitors to enjoy the springtime on the farm, whether it's lamb and live or getting up close with the small animals, chicks and ducklings, or even baby kids. I think it's great that on the island we have this opportunity to get on farm and enjoy it, and a big shout out to those farmers that are opening their gates to the public this Easter. Yeah, and of course over the weekend there's been lots of local interest in the Isle of Man Beer Festival.
Oh, it is so good, isn't it? Just Manx brewers in there, 5 of them locals, just coming out with their wares. I keep saying it on this programme, we're just so lucky, aren't we, here on the island to get that Manx produce that's grown in our fields around the island.
Yeah, and when you think about all the years we had the bakery up the north, we've still got the bakeries now that are getting into production, local ones as well. The Ross Bakery, just to name one there. And the side of it where some of the brewers can be using the Manx wheat. Wonderful.
This is it. And Noah Bakehouse there having a side hustle now, opening a little brewery. I think people are just so innovative and they want to create and they want to be entrepreneurs. I know it's only a small place, but per mile, I think we must produce some of the most amazing products from this area.
Yeah, indeed. Well, that's the last in this current series of Countryside. Don't forget, if you go to manxradio.com, the website, and type in Countryside, you'll find all the editions there in longer form, a lot of them, in the podcast area of them. And we'll be back in a few weeks' time with the next series of Countryside. So until then, from me, Simon Clark.
And me, Kirree Kermode.
We'll see you then. Ta-da.
Bye-bye.